Guys, we wanted to make a live stream today where we got to interview anonymous people who, or anonymous nurses and healthcare workers who are interested in spilling the tea and spilling all their dirty little secrets from work, but we're having technical difficulties. For some reason, I am trying to get people to go onto Discord and have the audio routed from Discord to this live stream, but it's giving me a lot of issues. And I've been trying to work on this since yesterday. And that's the thing. Like if I'm not an audio engineer, so I don't know how to work all these things technically. I have to Google and YouTube everything, and I'm having an issue right now. So Monica and I, we're just gonna have a conversation about um, different topics. And if you want to chime in, you can go ahead and join the live stream, and you can give us your 2 cents. But Monica's in the background. I don't know if you guys can see her.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so Monica is gonna be moderating. And if any of you know how I can get or receive phone calls during a live stream and make it anonymous, please reach out to me because I can't get it to work. And anyway, so Monica and I, we were out filming today. And what were we filming? We were
The
filming
homelessness situation.
homelessness in Sacramento. And this is something that I want you guys to tune in the following videos for because it's going to be in the following videos. It's probably going to be out in the next 3 weeks or so because we've also been going around the different areas in Sacramento to show you guys what it's like to be able to afford to live out here, whether you're renting or you're buying. And the first place that we visited in the Sacramento area was Elk Grove. Unfortunately, when we first filmed that video, we didn't think about what it would cost to rent. So we only looked at a house that you can afford to buy if you were a nurse in this area. The next video, though, after that, will be about Roseville and what it costs to rent versus what it costs to buy in Roseville. We also talk about what it's like to live in Sacramento and the area surrounding it. So every video that we will present in that series, where we go around to the different cities surrounding Sacramento, we're going to be also talking about the demographics. We're going to be talking about the household income, the politics in those areas, and what we like and dislike about those areas. So, for those of you that are interested in moving to the greater Sacramento area, you're probably going to be interested in those type of videos. But today specifically, we made the video about homelessness in Sacramento because we made a video, I believe it was like a year and a half ago or so, where we talked about how bad the homelessness situation was becoming out here. And before the pandemic, it was pretty bad. The average numbers that I was seeing on newspaper articles was around 5,000 homeless individuals living in the Sacramento County area. But over the last year or so, they reran the numbers, and the numbers have gone up. They've pretty much doubled since the last time. And I think the last numbers they got was like 9,140 or somewhere around there. Basically, it was right under 10,000 homeless individuals living in the Sacramento County, which is almost double the number of the previous amount of homeless individuals in the city. And I want you guys to really tune into that video because we're going to talk about what California has been trying to do to address the homelessness crisis, and it hasn't really gotten us anywhere. And you'll be able to see that in that video. But yeah, so next week, I'm hoping we'll be able to fix these audio issues. I see there's 20 people watching right now. Let me see. Can I hold on a second? Oh yeah, there you go. E-voices. Okay. If any of you know how to get audio routed from Discord over to OBS, which is the program that I use to record my screen and to cast my screen. If you guys know how to do that, please let me know in the comment section or send me an email at contact@nursestoriches.com. Anyway, so all right, let's talk a little bit more about what's going on in the Sacramento area since Monica and I moved here. Because we moved here 7 years ago. And when we first moved here, the home prices were lower. We bought our home for about $600,000, actually $697,000. But our home today, if we were to sell it, would sell for right under $1 million. It's like 960,000, 980,000. It depends on the day that you look at it. But if you look at homes in our area, though, there are homes, because we live in a new construction. When we bought it, it was a new construction. The homes in the surrounding area will go for way more than our house is worth because they're like antique looking homes, they're vintage looking homes. They've been here, Victorian style homes. They've been here for decades, and they're more established homes. So those are the type of homes that people who like the look and feel of old Sacramento want to live in. And if you want to live in a house that's, let's say, a 3 bedroom, 2 bath in this area that we live in, that's not a new construction, you're looking to spend around like 1.2, $1.3 million for a home of that size. Whereas the new construction homes that are coming out in this area and even the surrounding areas of Sacramento are actually going for less than that, which is why most of the videos that we make are going to be focused on new construction as opposed to the old construction. And I see Christopher just asked, let me see if I can show this. Christopher just asked if the Moore's ED is closing down. And as far as I'm aware, it is not closing down, but the plan is that by the time the new hospital in downtown Sacramento, the new Kaiser Hospital, is built, the one in Moore's Avenue, which is what they call Kaiser Sacramento, not Kaiser South Sacramento, that one, all of the employees from that hospital will end up moving to the downtown Sacramento area. And that's where they're going to be working. So they're going to turn the Moore's Avenue location into clinical offices, I believe. And yeah, that's the plan as far as I'm aware. They're not planning to shut it down completely yet. It's going to happen when the new building gets placed, when the new building goes up in downtown Sacramento. Okay. So let's go back to this housing issue, right? When we first moved here, like I said, we paid $697 for this house. Many of the homes that we were looking at that were 3 bed, 2 bath at the time that were new construction were selling for like $300,000 to $400,000. We just looked at a house not too long ago that was 1,300 square feet, 3 beds, 2 baths, and this was where? In Roseville, right? Was it Rose? No, in Elk Grove. Mm-hmm. So in Elk Grove, that house was selling for about $569,000 or something like that. And remember, interest rates have also skyrocketed since we first moved here. When we first moved here, we purchased our house with an interest rate of 4.675%. And then in 2020, we were able to reduce it to 3.3%. But had we refinanced again a few months later, we could have gotten it all the way down to like 2.8, 2.9%. But we just didn't want to refinance again, which is, I mean, I wish we would have, but in hindsight, it's fine. Our interest rate is still lower than everybody else's right now. The interest rates at the moment are like 7% and above. Like the APR on most mortgages are like 7.1, 7.2%. So that's why it's hard for people to even be able to afford homes out here in the California area, because Sacramento used to be a place that people would move to from other parts of California, and it still is. Don't get me wrong, because other parts of California are way more expensive than Sacramento. Okay, so let's see. How can I email you, please? I have something to share. You can email us at contacts@nursestoriches.com, and I'll put it in the chat. Let me see if I can contact@nursestoriches.com. All right. And if you have any interesting stories that you guys want to share with us and you don't want to talk about it publicly, even if it is anonymous, then go ahead and share those stories with us at contact@nursestoriches.com. Okay. Monica, do you have anything to say about when we first moved over here and what has changed?
Let me think about it for a minute. Yeah, definitely the homeless population. The cost of living. I can't really think.
Well, so we used to live in Roseville, and we moved from Roseville to Sacramento for a reason, right? We can talk about that. So
when we first moved into Roseville, it was a culture shock for us because coming from New York City, a very diverse city, we come in and the apartment complex, because we wanted to live in a really affordable apartment at that time so we can save money. So definitely it was more lower income, which was fine. It wasn't that bad until when we settled in, we noticed how different it was. And you would hear, there was a couple, there was a family, and I remember they would sit out in the patio and they would just, it was like an episode of Jerry Springer. It was very like trailer trash. So it was huge culture shock for us. And so, it wasn't that bad until like eventually, as we were living there for longer and longer, you start to feel like we just felt out of place. And I can say that about, because we went to El Dorado Hills yesterday. We went to the town center and we were filming
Oh,
content for renting versus buying. And when Jason and I were walking around, we just felt so out of place. I mean, it's a gorgeous town, but it just didn't feel like it was a town that would be comfortable to live in.
yeah.
Would you say?
But
Mhm.
I will say you guys need to watch the video
Yes, definitely.
because that apartment
We
complex we
we have
toured,
some surprises.
a place like that would have gone for about at least $10,000 per month in New York City, but it was renting for like a quarter of the price, right? So you guys need to watch that video. It's
Yeah,
coming
I'm
out.
really excited about that. It was beautiful. We were looking
Yeah.
at this apartment complex,
Mhm.
gorgeous. It had all these amenities, and what they told us the final renting price was in the summer too. If you're starting off, if you want to start your lease in the summer, it's usually more expensive. We were just blown away.
Yeah.
So keep a lookout for that episode. It's been
Okay.
a while since we did a live.
Yeah, we we
We're a
used to
little
do.
rusty.
That's true. We used to do these live videos weekly
Weekly.
when we
Mhm.
first started. And then it got a little too overwhelming because whenever we want to go on a vacation or we want to go out of town,
Yeah.
we were in New York City at one point and we were doing a live. That's how dedicated we were to this. But it it's just it requires a lot of work, and not everybody can make it to these lives, especially at the times that we go live on. So right now it's 3:21 p.m. Pacific time, which is 6:21 p.m. Eastern time. And some people are at work during this time, which is why we ended up doing some of the lives later in the night, like 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Pacific time, which is obviously it's like really late in Eastern time, but I felt like more people were able to join those lives than this one because it's kind of the afternoon time right now. But yeah, so yeah, when we used to live in Roseville, we moved there initially because our friend who had been working with me in New York Presbyterian moved with his wife and his kids to Roseville. So we went to visit him while we were in San Francisco. We had come to San Francisco because we thought maybe we could live in the Bay Area until we started looking at the home prices and the rental prices. And that's when I decided to contact our friend and see if he would, like show us around in Roseville. And he did. But I've mentioned this before. When we came to Roseville, we were expecting him to be renting an apartment. But when we got to his place, we realized that quickly that he was not renting. He told us he had bought that house within 8 months of moving to Sacramento or to the Sacramento area, and he paid $650,000 for a 4,000 square foot home that was 5 beds, 4 bathrooms, I believe, or 4.5 bathrooms, with a giant walk-in closet. His walk-in closet is the size of one of our bedrooms, even larger than one of our bedrooms. That's how big it is. But after he told us all these good things about California, Northern California specifically, and the Kaiser system, that's when we started applying for jobs because we had already gotten our licenses approved by the time we came to visit him. So I started applying for jobs, and within a few days, like actually within a day, I got a interview at one of the Dignity hospitals, and I got a job offer before I even left. And then while we were in New York City, I applied for jobs while I was over there, got a job interview at Sutter Roseville. And that same day that I had that interview, I got a job offer. So we ended up choosing Sutter Roseville as my first hospital when we moved out here. And then that's why we were living in Roseville, because Sutter Roseville was the first one to offer me a job. And because our friend lived in the Roseville area. So at least we knew somebody and we weren't coming out here just, the only people we knew were each other, so it felt a little bit better knowing that we had friends when we first moved out here, and that really helped. But we quickly found out when we were living in Roseville that Roseville was not the place for us, because in our opinion, Roseville lacks diversity in a lot of areas. And the apartment complex that we were living in, they had apartments that were available for like $1,400 a month, which was great. If you had, it was, I believe it was like a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, or 2 bedroom, 2 bath at the time was $1,400. And a 3 bed, 2 bath, which is the one that we ended up choosing, was about $1,600, but we had 2 pets. So we were paying $1,800 for it. And because it was so inexpensive, so cheap, the type of tenants that were living there were not the type of tenants that you would want to have as neighbors, because there was constant arguing going on. There were police cruisers coming into the apartment complex and arresting people, or giving them citations and fines. And there was a couple that lived right next to us that was always arguing with each other. They would always go at it with each other, and I don't know how many times they broke up, but it seemed like it was a daily occurrence. So we ended up leaving. And also, I should mention, when I was working at Sutter Roseville, I was one of the few minorities that worked there. And I mean, I loved Sutter Roseville though. Like, I got along really great with almost all of my coworkers. So even though I was one of the few minorities, I still enjoyed working there. But the fact that I was one of the few minorities made me feel like I was isolated, right? Like I didn't really belong to too much in that place. So now that I'm at Kaiser Sacramento though, it is, and I had this conversation with my coworker who used to live in and used to work with me at NYP in New York Presbyterian. He told me, and we both agreed on this, that Kaiser Sacramento is the most diverse hospital that we've ever worked in. And that's by far, he is not lying. I'm telling you guys, if you walk into Kaiser Sacramento, you'll see nurses and healthcare workers from all walks of life. And that's one thing that I do really enjoy about Kaiser Sacramento. And I feel like they did a good job of representing all types of people in that facility. All right. Somebody just asked, let's see. Ricardo, you said, hello, just curious. Any thoughts on buying property in DR or the Philippines? Live off passive income? DR or the Philippines? Have we thought about that?
I know we thought about that.
Yeah.
Either or, but don't you have to be a citizen to purchase a property in the Philippines?
So we've had this discussion, yeah. But it's not, that's like something that we would probably do way far into the future. It's not something that we would even really think about now. At the moment, our goal is to get enough income outside of our job from our side business to not have to work full time anymore. I want to be able to work part time. Actually, not, I work part time right now, but I want to be able to work per diem or just whenever I choose to work. That's my ultimate goal. Like, I still want to work as a nurse in one capacity or another, because I want to be able to still relate and relay information to you guys that's relevant, because there's a lot of nurses out there that are always selling these courses and selling digital products, or they're trying to market the nursing profession, but they don't even work as nurses anymore. And I don't want to be that type of person. That might change in the future, who knows? But for the foreseeable future, I still want to work in the profession in one way or another. So that's why I still want to remain working as a nurse. But yeah, when we move to New York, I'm probably only gonna take like a per diem job that I only have to work maybe once a month to do, because
like non-bedside.
Yeah, because if we're in New York, I really don't want to work as a nurse. It's awful there. And if you guys work in New York, you would understand. Does anybody have anything to say? No, right? Okay.
Why did you bail on nursing school?
Why did you bail on nursing school? What do you mean? Oh, Andrew. Okay, this is Andrew. So, Andrew, I have a lot on my plate, Andrew. So for those of you guys that are wondering, okay, so Andrew, let me put this comment here. He said, "Why did I bail on nursing school?" So me and Andrew had a meeting, and we were gonna create this. I guess it's like a mentorship program, sort of, or like a program for nurses so they can collaborate with each other. And if you have nurses that are specialized in a skill, they'd be able to teach their those skills to other nurses that are interested in getting into that type of line of work. And it's just I have so much on my plate, Andrew. I haven't been able to do anything. Like I was taking Python classes because I'm really interested in like I love Python, but I just don't have the time to even take those courses. It's so hard when you have a son. Like even though he's in a preschool right now, we just Monica and I we barely have the time because we try to work out. Right, we go to the
Yeah,
gym.
just the gym alone, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, our schedule is pretty intense. I feel like because we're trying to do YouTube full time and content creation full time, it's so much pressure, and sometimes it's also stressful. Like I get that it's far more flexible than being a bedside nurse, but at the same time, I feel like, in all honesty, I feel like being a nurse is a little bit more rewarding. But and then content creation, like people view you as like some charlatan or something.
yeah.
I don't know what do they call them. There was a word that they called you, babe.
Me?
Yes, because you were trying to sell. Well, we sell our
Spreadsheets?
spreadsheets, and yeah, we get called certain things, and it's not as it's not as rewarding as being like as a bedside nurse. I like being a bedside nurse a lot. Not a lot of nurses could say that, especially if you're not in California. But I also get like friends and family who's like, oh, can you, because we're hobbyist photographers, like, can you do my photo, take my pictures and this and that. Like we don't even have time to do that. We also have a teenage daughter, and so having two kids alone, we have
Yeah.
zero support out here in Sacramento. We don't have any family. When we were in New York, this is the reason why we always get questions as to why do you guys want to move back to New York? I get that. Like not everybody has a village. But when we were in New York at one point, when we were there on vacation, we went everywhere. We were filming, and we just left my kids like with my brother, with my mom, and not like have to worry about them whatsoever. So the kids alone, it's pretty intense. Um, what else? Uh, yeah, Jason
It's hard.
alone, his schedule, I swear, like I feel like he doesn't even have time for us sometimes. So he has to prioritize time for us.
Yeah.
But and our son, he's so young, so we feel bad. Like we had to put him to school just so we can do this.
But with all that being said,
Yeah.
I still want to create some sort of
Yes.
space for nurses to be able to go to, in nurses that are just getting into the profession and they feel like they've struggled so hard through nursing school and through life to get to where they are, only to make you know a few bucks per hour, $20 per hour, $25 per hour, and these nurses feel like all of that work was for nothing. These are the type of nurses that I'm trying to reach, and I want to prove to these nurses and show these nurses that no matter where they are, they can make more money per hour. They can have more freedom in their lifestyle. Because even when Monica and I were living in New York, yeah, we were spending a lot of money, but if we would have focused on financial freedom, we could have gotten to where we want to be financially. It just would have taken a bit longer than it would here in California. Probably a lot longer, but we would still have reached our goal. And I remember when we first graduated from nursing school, the goal was to pay off our student loans as quickly as possible. And at one point, we were paying like $9,000 per month because I was picking up a lot of hours at my job, and Monica was also picking up a few hours here and there. So by the time we moved to Sacramento and in California, we didn't have that much debt left over. I think we only had like $20,000 left over out of the 80,000 that we owed by the time we moved to California. But Um, I don't know, Andrew. I'm working on some things by myself right now, and if for some reason once I'm done with this, I'm able to then dedicate some time to collaborating with you, I will do it. But just right now, it's just so much going on. And then also, when you reached out to me, we were planning a trip to Disney for our son. So we were in Disney for like an entire week, and I just didn't have time for
Wait,
anything.
what nursing school is this?
Remember, I told you, Andrew, he sent me like the list of things that he wanted to do to create a course.
Oh, okay, right,
Yeah,
right, yeah.
yeah,
Oh man, we're trying to dedicate time for that course too.
yeah. Because we were working on a course as well, and then you presented your idea to me. But it's a lot of stuff going on. It's just so hard to, because we had a mentor at one point when we were looking into drop shipping again and starting a clothing brand, and he told me that I need to stop splitting my attention in
Mhm.
so many different areas, because if I do that, then I may have, a few things here or there that are producing money, but it's not substantial enough to the point where I'll be able to like say, okay, we're making a healthy amount of money. I don't have to work as a nurse full time anymore. That's not going to happen until I focus all of my attention on one thing. I got to be laser focused. And right now, our laser focus is on just social media and content creation. And I should say that also coincides with the spreadsheets that we sell, because the spreadsheets that we sell, we promote them on our social media. So that's the main focus right now. And I need to continue focusing on that till it gets to the point where I can offload everything or most of everything, except for like maybe me talking on camera, to assistants and video editors and any other associates that may be able to help me with that kind of work. Okay, let's see. Somebody else asked the question. I was just hired at Northwell in New York City. Very reassuring. And that's to when I said that nursing in New York
Yeah.
City is the worst. And anyone who works there would know that.
But New York City has very flexible nursing. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're not happy in one place, oh my God, you guys have so much more options as opposed to being out here in Northern California. We have very, especially at Kaiser. I had no ICU background, and I didn't even have tele experience. So you're kind of stuck in one specialty.
Yeah.
So if you're not happy there, it looks like you did. You just start? If you're not happy there, be open to going to another unit or another hospital.
Yeah, that's very true. And that's the one thing I like many things about Kaiser, but the one thing that I don't like is the fact that if you want to go from, let's say, ER to ICU, it's going to be nearly impossible because they're not willing to train nurses who have ER experience in the ICU, and vice versa. Yes, it's possible. You can go from the ICU to the ER, which is weird, but not the other way around. Because we have nurses that used to work in the ER, in the ICU, who now work in the ER. And I have a coworker, a friend of mine who used to be a coworker of mine who went back to New York after moving to California because he was not allowed to work in the ICU, and he wants ICU experience so he can become a CRNA. So if you're someone who wants to become a CRNA, go straight to the ICU. Don't even skip it. Just don't go to the ER. It'll be easier on you if you just go straight to the ICU. Okay, let's see. Question over here. Just graduated nursing school. What advice can you give a new grad nurse? I want to begin in med surge unit and start a new grad nurse residency program because I think it would be good experience. If you want to begin in the med surge, like why not? I don't knock anybody who wants to work in any specialty or any unit. But I will say this: it will be harder for you to go from med surge to even tele, med surge to tele, med surge to ICU, med surge to ER.
It's all dependent where.
Yeah.
I guess it depends where he works.
It does depend
Yeah.
when you work. If you work in a hospital that's like a small community hospital, they don't mind training you in another specialty. They don't. Most of those hospitals are more than happy to do that. But if you're working in a major hospital like Kaiser or you know what, even Sutter would be more likely to train you, cross train you. But Kaiser for sure, it'd be almost impossible, if not impossible, for you to go from med surge to ICU or emergency department or PACU or any of the outpatient clinics. So just think about that before you get into that specialty. And I know some nurses that or some techs that got their nursing degrees and had to apply for work in other hospitals in the ER before they came to our ER because it was so hard to get into those types of specialties. However, they did expand the new grad nursing programs the new grad residency programs in the Kaiser system to now allow new grads to work in the ER and the ICU. They didn't allow this before COVID. And if they did, it was in very small numbers, but they've expanded that. And I have a coworker who I want to interview, and we're trying to like schedule a meeting so that I can interview him in person. But he's a new grad nurse. He just started with Kaiser. I believe it's like between 9 and 12 months ago, and he got his degree from Nightingale. I believe that's the name of the school. He had to fly out to another state in order for him to do his clinicals. And the stories he tells me are just crazy. So I'm hopefully going to be able to interview him. And he also works a lot of hours in the Kaiser system. So I can ask him how much money he makes, and maybe you guys would be interested in that. Okay. What else? You want to read off some of the questions there? Lots of questions. Okay.
I just wanted to insert something. I don't know if it's true or it kind of sounds like it's true. So our hospital, I work at Kaiser South Sac, because they became magnet. Apparently, supposedly, they are doing a lot more training now, lot more training programs. Right. So that's good news. So they're doing a lot more. They're opening a lot more. I saw L&D. I saw like one NICU and one ICU. The last time I was at my work, I haven't been working. So yeah, I was told that because we're magnet now. I don't think you guys are magnet yet, right? Are you guys working on it?
We're working on it.
We got like top tier magnet score apparently. So yeah, they're really proud about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now let's see. Somebody asked a question here. If you were to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Move to California.
Well, you know what? No, if I were to do it all over again, as much as I hate the ICU, I would have gone to the ICU.
I've been told you that.
And I would have become a CRNA. Yeah.
CRNA?
Yeah. I would have, if it would have been between, okay, so if it would have been, my only choice would have been nursing school. That's the route I would have taken. However, if I would have had to choose all over again between nursing and another profession, I would have gotten into computer science because I'm obsessed with like technology. And I think I would have fallen in love with coding because I really enjoy doing that. Yeah. What do you think?
Nothing. No.
What would you choose? She's Filipina. She would still be a nurse.
Oh no, I don't. Well, if I, knowing that what nursing is in New York, I don't think I would have done nursing, to be honest with you. If I lived in New York, I would have done something different. I always think like my toxic trait is thinking that I could have been a fashion photographer. But I just wish we would have moved to California when I got a year into med surge, and made that money stack right away.
Stack that money
right away, because these Sacramento natives, my God, they've been here all their lives, and they really got to take advantage of the housing market back then.
That's true.
So yeah, those are our only regrets. Although I've only been a nurse for 3 years before we moved out here in California. And you, what, 4 years?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next question. We are from Canada, Ottawa. We plan to move to Sacramento. We're both RN, cardiac OR, and ED RN. Any advice?
Cardiac OR.
With a 5-year-old. Oh, you guys are going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah, you guys are being
so
good.
Yeah, once you move out here, you could survive off of one of your incomes. But I will say, so watch the future videos that we're going to have on the channel, because we'll talk about how much you'll have left over after paying for your rent or your mortgage if you were to move out here, based on the median rent and mortgage prices. But what we always say in our videos is, sure, you can live fine as a single income earner, but you are going to excel as a dual income couple, right? Because Monica, oh my gosh, this past month, she barely worked.
I
Okay,
haven't worked for a month, guys.
she
I don't know
hasn't
if
worked.
staffing is messing with me or they don't like me, and they have not scheduled me to work. And I've seen other my other coworkers that are less senior than me got like 1 or 2 shifts. So I'm like, what's going on? So this has been an ongoing issue this time of the year. Per diem nurses aren't getting any shifts, so it's kind of scary. But then at the same time, I got Jason. So and then we also saved up big time at the beginning of the year when right before this happened. And so yeah, I haven't been booked for, actually they were gonna book me during spring break, but we went on vacation because it was our son's
Yeah.
birthday. Oh, so when it comes to the 5-year-old, I want you to not, if it depends what your preference is. If you have a 5-year-old, I would rather you move a little bit outside of Sacramento, like Elk Grove, Roseville.
Yeah.
You'll just have a better school system because we live in Sacramento. The schools are not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So we will talk about that in all of the videos that we're filming,
Mhm.
because we talk about the school systems in the cities that we visit. And out of all of the cities that we've visited and that we know about, consider, if you have kids, consider moving to Elk Grove, even Natomas, but it has to be North Natomas. So Elk Grove, Natomas, um, El Dorado Hills, Folsom, Rockland, Roseville, and Auburn. And those are, the top 7. There's also other places like Granite Bay, there's Lincoln, there's many other areas that I'm not gonna, I mean, there's too many to name. But if you're not in the city of Sacramento, you can find many other cities in the surrounding areas that have excellent school systems. And the housing prices, in terms of like lowest to highest, I would say Elk Grove is one of the more affordable ones. And then you have, let's see, you have uh, Roseville, Folsom, Auburn, and then you have,
Rockland.
yeah, Rockland starts to get steep too. But then as you go up the list, El Dorado Hills is going to be one of the most expensive areas to live in.
What about Lodi? We didn't really talk about Lodi.
Yeah, Lodi,
I
but
think
Lodi
Lodi
is farther
is
down.
southern.
It's
Yeah.
south, and it's closer to South Sacramento's Kaiser. So yeah, you could consider Lodi, but it's going to be farther away from everything else, if that's what you're looking to move to, where you're looking to move to. Also, I would recommend one of you go per diem and one of you go part time, because if you guys don't want to pay for childcare, then you can alternate your schedules.
It's school age.
Yeah.
Five,
Oh wait,
Sacramento-
that's
yeah,
true.
he's
School age,
school age.
but
You be-
yeah, but regardless, like,
Yeah.
because your child is school age, if you guys alternate your schedule, then
Mhm.
one can always be at home with the child if the child gets sick, right? So, or if you can find a schedule where you're both working part time and you're just alternating your schedule, that works too. But I would actually prefer a part timer in the family and a per diem nurse, because the per diem nurse is going to be making a higher hourly rate, and that per diem nurse can get the benefits from the part time nurse. All right. Let's see. Hi, is the tele unit or step down unit? Is there a tele unit or step down unit? Are they a lot of openings at Kaiser?
It's getting.
It's so hard.
Gosh, it's getting so difficult to
Mhm.
land a job at Kaiser now.
Yeah.
From time to time, I see some openings. It's mostly med surge. It's so difficult. Like when we first moved out here, it wasn't too bad, but then now it's just it is getting saturated.
But you know why, right?
Yeah, yeah, but
Because of the magnet status.
yeah, true.
So the hospitals, in order to remain magnet status, or at least to get granted magnet status, this is what I was told. I might not be 100%. It might not be 100% accurate, but they need to maintain a certain level of vacancies in order for them to get their magnet status granted. And right now in the ER, we have below 10% vacancy. When I go to work, I don't even see travel nurses anymore. This has never happened before this year. This is the first year where I've actually come to work almost every shift and there are no travel nurses. So if you are a travel nurse and you're looking for work at Kaiser in the Sacramento area, you're going to have a hard time in the ER specifically, because on the inpatient units, I've heard that there are more travel nurses than there are in the ER. And that's also, it also depends on the director, because the director is the one that's responsible for hiring the nurses. So if you have a director that's on top of it, making sure that the unit is completely staffed, well staffed, then you're likely going to see fewer travel nurses in that unit. Right. Let's see. Can you make a video or talk about Kaiser South, like West LA or um, Orange County? I ask because SoCal seems to get no love in comparison to NorCal, Kaiser. See, so the reason I don't do that is because I want nurses to make the amount of money that I believe they deserve to get paid. And it's not going to happen in SoCal. I would be doing a disservice to everyone if I tell you to move and work in Southern California.
You can talk about the SM10.
That's what I was gonna talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We have friends who have been dying to move back to Southern California because my friends, my coworker's wife, her entire family is in Long Beach, and she grew up there, so she wants to move back over there, and
Like
she's been
desperately.
she's been trying to convince him to move back there, and he's been on the fence about it, but he finally decided to like apply for a job and see what the rate would be. And they said that for a per diem, I don't even know, was it day shift,
So,
evening shift, night shift?
It was definitely day shift,
Mhm.
but it is unbenefited, like a regular staff, but it's not benefited.
Yeah.
So they take 20% pay cut or something like that. Yeah.
I forgot the
Oh, not a pay cut. You get more.
Yes, you get a
Mhm.
higher hourly rate for
Mhm.
being non-benefited. So that means you don't get health insurance, you don't get dental insurance, you don't get vacation, paid vacation. You don't get all the benefits that a benefited employee would get, which is, like I just mentioned, all these other things like health insurance. And his hourly rate was going to be $90 an hour, which is great. But if you're a benefited employee, it's going to be more around $70 per hour. And he has like 10 years of experience at this point. So if you're a new grad, your hourly rate is going to be a lot lower than that. It's going to be somewhere around, I think, I don't have the rates with me. I've made a video about this in the past, and the video is titled something like NorCal versus SoCal Kaiser. I did talk about this in a previous video a long time ago. So I compared the rates between the two Kaisers, and that includes LA and Orange County. It includes all of those Kaisers in Southern California. So yeah, you'd be making around, I think it's like $54 to $60 an hour if you were a new grad working in Southern California. And just think about the cost of living. Do you know why there's so many homeless people in LA? It's because the cost of living is so high. It's definitely going to be higher than areas like Sacramento, Roseville, El Dorado, where else? Folsom, Elk Grove. It's going to be higher than those areas. But what you get in these areas in Northern California, specifically where we're living, is a higher pay than you would in Southern California. So I know a lot of people ask me, and we make YouTube videos all the time. I mean, we make TikTok videos all the time. And in these TikTok videos, I talk about why it doesn't make sense to work at Stanford if you choose to live in the Stanford area. Why it doesn't make sense to work at El Camino if you choose to live in El Camino. It's because once you get paid, most of your paycheck is going to go towards your cost of living, especially if you're trying to own. The median home price in the Stanford area, which is like Palo Alto is right around there, is about $3 million. Even if you're making $200,000 a year, you cannot afford to buy a house over there. So I'm not going to tell people to move to locations that I don't think make financial sense. And that's why, unfortunately, I don't talk about Southern California as often as many people want me to. Okay. Next question. Let's see. Man, actually, we're getting
Did you skip?
a lot of questions. Hold on. Let's see.
What are your top mistake, Angel? Angel?
This one right here.
No.
Oh,
Did you do that one?
Oh, wait. Oh, actually, I did skip. I skipped a lot of questions.
Yeah, about.
Okay, sorry.
Answer Angel's question.
You know what? Let me drag this up here so I can
What
read
are
it from
your top
up here.
mistakes?
Okay. Monica, you want to read it?
Oh, well, you dragged it up there? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What are your top mistakes that you made that others can learn from? And what are your top 2 good decisions that others can learn from? So two mistakes and 2 good decisions.
Okay, my top 2 mistakes that others can learn from. Well, first of all, I think my biggest mistake, our biggest mistake,
What, that you married me?
No,
Okay.
no. Honestly, I
All
think
right.
Monica and I, we have so many things in common. We're like, I think we're just like, we're
No,
best friends for a reason.
no need to elaborate,
We're
but
best
yeah,
friends for a
but
reason because we
yeah.
have so much in common.
Stay on track. I was just kidding.
Okay, but my number one mistake was, well, first of all, I didn't do nursing sooner. I wish I would have, if this would have been the route that I would have taken. But if I were to put that
Oh,
aside,
yeah,
the
you done.
first mistake I think we made was that we didn't move to California sooner.
Yeah.
Because if we would have moved here sooner, our net worth is currently 700,000. Last time I checked, it was like 720,000.
Hmm.
Had we moved here when we first graduated from nursing school that first year, we would
Maybe
have
not
over
right
a million
away. Maybe not as new grad.
after the first year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Our net worth would be well over $1 million by now, and we would probably be retired as nurses. Honestly,
So
that's
sad.
mistake
Hmm.
number one.
Yeah.
Mistake number two. You know what? Since I'm spilling the tea here, right?
Ooh.
I'm gonna talk about a med error that I made previously, and I've learned from that med error.
Uh-oh.
There was a hospital that I worked in where we didn't have to scan the medications. And I remember I had to pull out medications for two of my patients, and the patients looked very similar to one another. Okay, they were literally almost the same age. They were of the same ethnicity, and they both looked the same, right? So I went to pull out medication for both of them. They had medication due at, let's say, one of them had a PRN medication, the other one had a scheduled medication. I pulled them out at the same time. Both of the tablets looked exactly the same, and I gave one tablet to one patient, one tablet to the other. Remember, we didn't have to scan at this time. I then realized when a discharge order was placed for one of the patients, and as I was going through the discharge instructions, I realized that I had given the wrong medication to this patient. And after that, thankfully, it was a medication that wouldn't really cause harm to the patient. Thankfully, but after that incident, I remember thinking, because we had there was a conversation that had to be had with my managers and all of that. After this, I made it a habit religiously that I would check every single medication. I would go through all of my rights, the eight dosing rights. You make sure you go through every single one of those before you medicate a patient. Because had I done what Redonda Vaught did, one of my patients could have died. And this is why I wanted to have this series where we come in and we have people talk about
Hmm.
situations that they might have had happen at work. It could be, and this is a finance channel, but I also want to bring it back to like what it's like to be a nurse, which is why we wanted to have this series.
Hmm.
Because being a nurse is extremely hard. It's taxing on your body, it's taxing on your mental health. And a lot of people think, there's people in our comment section on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram who say nurses shouldn't get paid what they get paid because it's an easy job, anybody can do it. But it's not as easy as people think it is. It's not all about just wiping butts. It's a lot harder than that. And if you even make one mistake, that mistake can cost you your job, can cost your patient their lives. And
Your
I think it's
career.
important to talk about.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know. But that's one thing. Okay, so I gave you two, right? The first one was we should have moved to California, and the
Sooner.
second thing sooner,
Hmm.
and the second thing is I made a meta error that taught me a lesson for life. So I'll never make meta errors again. And then you said, what was the other one?
Too
Positive things?
good. Yeah, too good. Um, let me read it
Two good
again.
things. Okay.
Uh,
Let me pull the question back up. Okay, let's see.
two good decisions
Two good decisions.
that other
Okay,
people can learn
here we
from.
go. So another, I guess the two good decisions that we made was we got our finances under control.
Yes.
Because and Monica made a video about this today on Instagram, is that there's people, nurses out there that love to spend their money, that spend heavily. And to kind of like talk about that in a different light, I've come across so many nurses that spend lavishly as if they're making multi six figures per year. right? There's nurses that act like they're making millions per year.
And
I
also, the problem is when you
Mhm.
call them out on it,
Yeah.
it's like they get super defensive. Now, also, what the other good decision that we made that was that we were gonna buy 2 Teslas. Yes, and we got cold feet and canceled those 2 orders and paid off our cars. So that was really, gosh, because we ended up having our son. So imagine if we still had those payments, and then I became pregnant and I had to go on leave. So that's those two things. Like till this day, I'm like patting myself in the back. Like I was 9 months pregnant. Like I was ready to pop, and I was still I was working 10 days straight, and
Yeah.
and I loved it. Okay, like don't get me wrong, I loved it. But then like after that, I was like, okay, I was able to finally enjoy that time with our son. That was a very precious time. Okay, if we hadn't paid off, our debt, then I'd still be trying. I'd still be desperate to work right now.
That's true.
I'd be calling staffing right line and be like,
Mhm.
hey, why didn't you guys book me?
Mhm.
But I'm not because I don't have to.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and this is why I'm so obsessed. I've always been obsessed with like saving our money, investing our money, because after this month, I've just like justified the reason for why I've always been like that. Because Kaiser has not been offering their per diem nurses as many shifts as they normally do. Monica, way back like last year, the years before, and every year before that, she would always get as many shifts as she wants,
Oh yeah. Oh my
except for like
God.
1 month last year, which this happened also. It was like in March and April of last year,
Same time.
around the same time. And we never really had to worry because I was also working more hours back then. But this year, we decided, since we're going to be moving back to New York in about 2 years, we need to be saving on a regular basis just in case, because we're going to need money once we get back over there. But also, we need to have an emergency fund should something happen between now and then. And since Monica stopped getting her shifts, or she didn't get any shifts, we basically have been living on my income and the emergency fund that we have. If we need to liquidate any other stuff, we have money available in our cryptocurrency account, which we can sell off. And we have a couple of other things that we can sell off. But
I mean, I can also ad hoc in. I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys realize that per diem nurses, we get pre-booked on KP Schedule. It's an online app, and you put in your availability, and then staffing will book you based on the need.
Yeah.
So if you don't get those shifts, you don't get those available shifts, you can also get ad hocs and get an email or text and like, oh, we need, because nurses call out all the time. People get sick, emergencies. So you can ad hoc in and say, listen, I can come in, and you can just come in, and it'll be like a daily like basis. If they need you, you can just come in.
Mhm.
So that's another option.
Yeah. But I should also say that if we needed to, we could live off of my income. But that means I'd have to pick up extra hours, which I don't normally do, because I hate picking up hours now. I used to do it all the time before, but now that we have this YouTube and social media stuff going on, and I'm trying to create a course, and there's so much stuff going on that I just want to focus my attention on that. But if let's say I work 12-hour shifts every day that I go to work, I'm still bringing home about $10,000 a month, which is enough for us to live off of. But I don't want to do that. I'm not willing to. But I should also mention that in February of this year, we made $5,200 from TikTok, YouTube, and from selling our spreadsheets. We made about, I think it was like $2,000, maybe $2,100 from selling spreadsheets. So, oh, did you click on that?
Oh no, I didn't.
Okay.
Did I?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, let's talk about something else. Let's see. What are your, okay, somebody else asked something. Is there a lot of training to work in the ER? It depends. If you're a new grad, yes, you're going to get 3 to 6 months, I believe, something like that. And they will continue to follow up with you. Whoever precepted you will continue to follow up with you throughout the year. So if you have any questions, that preceptor, you can always go to them and they'll always be able to guide you. All right. NorCal is better than SoCal. Yes, for sure. All right. Let's see. I'm just going to keep scrolling down. There are so many questions. Oh my gosh. Let's see. So many questions. It's hard to answer. Oh, Brandon. Okay, let's see. Brandon has this special color to his name. I think because he's a subscribed member. Yeah. Okay. So Brandon, let me answer your question then. Okay.
That's a good
There's
question.
yeah, there's been a pretty consistent amount of openings on med surge, tele, and step down units at SoCal Kaisers, like Zion in San Diego, the new San Marcos facility that was built over 1 year ago. Yes, there's a lot of openings, but guys, do you know why there's a lot of openings? I want you to take a guess. If you don't know, it's because the cost of living is so high down there that most nurses are just migrating to the north, to Northern California. That's why there's so many openings.
I mean, shoot, if they paid SoCal nurses as well as NorCal, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
I'd be all up in that beach right now.
Yeah,
Seriously.
no kidding. When we
Hmm.
first came to California, the first city that we came to in California was Southern California, San Diego, and
No doubt, it's
the
beautiful down
weather
there.
is perfect because it's in the 70s, like mid
Hmm.
70s year round. It's awesome. But the cost of living there is
Yeah.
just as much as it is in New York City. So
Hmm.
it didn't make sense for us to move to a high cost of living area, from a high cost of living area to another high cost of living area with similar salaries, because the pay in Southern California is very similar to what it is in New York City. Okay, next question. Let's see.
Does Sutter pay time and a half after 8 hour shift?
Oh, where is that?
That is Ruth Campbell.
Oh, we skipped a few.
Yeah, you skipped a lot.
Okay. Does okay, so hi. Sutter also pays time and a half after 8 hour shift. You know what? When I worked there, I don't remember, but
Because you
the
work
very
12.
yeah, I was working
Yeah.
12-hour shifts, and I wasn't as invested in looking at the contract as I was when I moved to Kaiser Sacramento. So I believe they do. I believe they do. So because most of these hospitals, Sutter in Roseville is also CNA, and I'm sure they would have worked that into their contract. So don't quote me on it, but I believe that they do. They'll pay their nurses who work 8 hour shifts the time and a half after that eighth hour. But if you're a 12-hour shift employee, you don't get that time and a half from the eighth hour to the 12th hour. All right, next. We're gonna end this soon, guys, because we got to pick up our son. So if you guys have any questions, just shoot them in the chat. Or if you want to participate in spilling the tea anonymously, please reach out to us. Join our Discord server. I'm gonna give you a link to it right now. Actually, let's see. Read list. Here it is. Okay. I want you guys to participate in this next week. So I'm just gonna link to this. Let's see. Copy here. Okay, copy link. Okay, look at the chat. I'm gonna share our Discord server for where you're gonna be able to join next week when we get this up and running. I'm gonna figure it out.
I
We
was
have
looking forward
technical
to this
difficulties.
the tea,
Yeah, we have
guys.
technical difficulties, so I haven't been able to get the audio from Discord to transmit over to our streaming software. I might have to just download a different program. We'll see by next week if I can get it to work.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Okay.
But the kind of things I want to talk about in those live streams are not just about spilling the tea. Like, I also, if you have any wins or any losses in your life that you want to talk about, whether it's financial, it's personal, anything you want to talk about, I would love to hear from you so that other nurses can. There are many nurses out there from all walks of life, and they might be able to relate to your story. And I just want them to be able to hear it. So like I said, for us, for example, one of our biggest mistakes, financial mistakes, was when we took out a $70,000 loan just to put a down payment on our house. And I think, and also we spent $76,000 on our car. Those are two huge mistakes. It took us, well,
Remember, I was mad at you for 2 years for
she was
getting
really
that
upset with
car.
me. Yeah. And it wasn't until COVID hit where we both buckled down and paid off all of our debt. We're like, we cannot have this debt lingering on our backs if something happens and we end up losing our jobs. Okay. So anything like that, or if there's like a scandal you want to talk about that happened at your job, or if you grew up in poverty and you had to face so many challenges to get to where you are today, I would love to hear stories like that. So please join our Discord. And next week, I'll see if I can. I'm gonna send another post to let you guys know at what time you should join the Discord chat room so that I can then invite you into the live stream anonymously. Okay. All right. Let's see.
Which floor?
Let's see. Oh man, you guys have a lot of questions today.
Tight. Okay.
Okay. Okay, I answered Brandon's.
What
Let's
about?
go this one. AJ Fortaleza. Do you guys use Indeed to look for a job or usually direct
Mhm.
hospital website? Well, I'll tell you this, guys.
Remember the folder? Tell him about the folder that you made when you were
Yeah.
applying for my jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a folder with all of the it included all the jobs I applied for, right? Was it all the jobs?
I'm talking about a bookmark folder, guys, not a physical folder.
Yeah,
folder.
yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
bookmark.
yeah. So
Mhm.
on my browser, in the web browser like Google Chrome or Edge or Safari, I created a bookmark titled let's say jobs, for example, and within that bookmark I had other folders, and that those folders were like subfolders. One of them would be Kaiser, one of them would be Dignity, and one of them would be Sutter, and another one would be UC Davis. These are the four major hospitals in the Sacramento area. And every time I would apply for a job for Monica, I would save that specific job posting that I applied for in one of those respective folders. So by the time Monica ended up getting hired, I had hundreds of jobs that I had applied
Mhm.
for her. And I did that just so I could keep track of all of them. But also nowadays, it's different. You don't have to apply through the job board. I've said this before, but guys, Incredible Health, they don't sponsor me anymore, but they're a company that has been able to get nurses jobs. So you guys can look at them for a job if you want. You know what? Let me give you the link. Let's see. I'm gonna post it in the chat. I believe this is it. So yeah, this is it. Okay, go to this link and you can click there, create a profile, and Incredible Health is known for getting nurses interviews within 14 to 21 days. Like that's what they're known for. I've consulted nurses before that have told me they got 3 job offers in like less than a week because of Incredible Health. So that's one way to get a job. LinkedIn is very useful because I've met many nurses that got messaged through LinkedIn by recruiters or nurse managers because of their profile. So like make sure you put all these keywords like you work in the ER, you do all these things, put that in your profile on LinkedIn. And also you can reach out to nurse managers through LinkedIn. So that's another thing. I always mention this every time we have a live stream. Okay, but now there's another way, okay? Because I know that when I refer a nurse to the Kaiser system, it's very likely that they get a job. It's happened many times already. So keep an eye out. We're on Instagram. Keep an eye out on Instagram. I might start doing it on a community post on YouTube, and I might
Yes.
notify you when there's a job available in the area. Like if it's in Sacramento, I'm gonna try to look for Sacramento because that's where I want you guys to move to, like the Sacramento area, and that includes Roseville and all the other cities that I mentioned. I'm gonna put job postings on my stories on Instagram. Keep an eye out for those and apply for those jobs. But remember, I'm doing this now because they said that I missed out on so many referral bonuses. I've been doing this, Monica and I, we have been doing this for 3 years. Not once in those 3 years did I claim a referral bonus from anyone who I referred to Kaiser, which is crazy because like I've gotten over, I'm not even kidding with you guys, over 100 nurses message us all across social media in our emails, letting us know that they've been hired at Kaiser because of us. So if you see those notifications, those stories, make sure that you let me know that you applied for them. Send me your first name and your last name. And I believe, yeah, just give me your email address and your phone number just in case I need that too. And let me know which job ID you applied for. Then once you get hired, once you receive an official hire date, send me a message so that I know they actually gave you the job. Okay? And I'm just and I again, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I get a referral bonus if you get the job. So Just letting you know, putting that out there.
I want you to respond to this. This is a really good one because RJ's Music Studio. Why these Northern Cali nurses living above their means? I know one paying 8,000 a month for their mortgage, and San Francisco Bay Area. Well, we know somebody who beat that mortgage.
Okay. All right. Where is that one? Where
All the
is
way at
it?
the bottom. It's a new one.
Oh, okay.
As anonymously as we can say it, but we actually know somebody whose mortgage is how much?
Okay. This is for those of you that didn't hear what Monica's saying. Why these Northern Cali nurses living above their means? No, no one paying. No. Oh, he knows one. He knows one nurse that's paying $8,000 a month for a mortgage in San Francisco Bay Area. You know, I've interviewed nurses that spend lavishly. Okay, I'm just gonna put that out there. What they do with their money is their own business, right? If you want to spend lavishly, that's fine. Like it's not my money, it's your money. But what I will say is that Monica and I enjoy our freedom, and we only get the freedom that we love experiencing because we are not overwhelmed with the amount of work that we have to do in our W-2 jobs. We used to work all the time. If you guys go back to our videos, there was one time I worked 18 days in a row. And that's because we had goals in mind. Our goals were to achieve financial freedom, right? We want to be able to retire early eventually. And in order to do that, we cannot spend like the Joneses. We cannot spend our money hoping that other people will acknowledge that we are wealthy, or assume that we are wealthy, because you could spend a lot of money and not actually have a lot of it. There are people that are in an exorbitant amount of debt because all they do is spend their money as if they have it before it gets there. And I know personally some nurses are, I'm not going to say which facility I've worked with these nurses at, but I've known a nurse that spent what, 11,000, almost about $10,000 a month on their mortgage. This nurse it's a nursing couple, but this nurse, their house is worth about $1.8 million. And just imagine if one of them was to lose their job, there is no way they'd be able to survive on a single income unless they're picking up a lot of overtime. And even then, they'd still be struggling. That's more than half of their income right there. Right? And I cannot even imagine how hard it must be for them to continue even paying for ordinary expenses. You wouldn't be able to take a vacation because you're basically house poor at that point. And Monica and I, we kind of lived that lifestyle when we lived in New York City. We were basically living paycheck to paycheck because every time we got a paycheck, we were thinking about, before we even got the paycheck, how we were going to spend that paycheck. Not how we were going to invest or save our paycheck, but how we were going to spend it. We were thinking about all of the vacations we were going to be taking, all of the places we were going to be exploring. And that's why it took us so long to pay off our student loans. But once we moved to California, we knew that the goal was to purchase a house that we could afford. Because I remember when we first started looking for a house, I was like, oh man, we can't have a budget over like 500,000 or 550,000. But then when we both started working at Kaiser and Monica was per diem, we realized that we could afford a house at the cost that we bought our house, which was 697,000, because our mortgage is still about anywhere between 21 and 26% of our, or 29% of our overall take-home pay. You know, when people talk about, where these financial advisors talk about how much house can you afford, they always look at the gross income. They don't look at the net income. I don't like that at all, because at the end of the day, you could make a high amount of money gross, but you could be living in a place that taxes you like crazy, like California, right? And then when you actually have that money in the bank account, it's all gone. It's almost all gone. And then the rest of it has to go towards your mortgage. So that's why I like to think, when I tell people you should live on, or you should get a mortgage that's no more than 30% of your income, that's your net income. So you can still have plenty of money left over if one of you loses your job, or if you want to go on vacation and enjoy your life. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But plenty of nurses, plenty. I know a nurse who made over $550,000 last year, and she still feels like she's broke. She doesn't even know where her money went. That's a shame. Okay, let's go. Another question. Okay, we have like 15 more minutes, and then we'll go. Okay, what do we have here? Do you guys this one right here? Okay, that one's done. Thanks. Love your content.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you guys use Indeed? Okay. Monica, do you guys use Indeed? Okay, already answered this one. Hello, new subscriber. Love it here so far. Very informative. I have a lot of experience in nursing. However, I need help selling myself on my resume. Any advice? Oh, you know what? I actually wanted to provide you guys with the resume that I used for myself and the one that I tailored Monica's resume after that managed to get us our jobs. So one thing I will say is you need to relay in your resume some of the things that you've done to improve the numbers in your department. For example, I worked in an emergency department in New York City that had over 78,000 visitors, 78,000 patients per year. And I said in the resume that I was the charge nurse responsible for a unit that received over 78,000 patients per year. And as a charge nurse, I helped to create what was it? Committees. I helped to create committees that improved the overall patient satisfaction scores. And they love hearing stuff like that because at the end of the day, patient satisfaction scores matter so much to departments and to hospital systems because that's how they receive funding. That's how they get reimbursed by Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and all of these other agencies. So I try to relay that some way or another in my resume because you're applying to nursing jobs, and most of these nursing jobs are in hospitals and facilities that do receive reimbursements. So I will find a way to include this in Discord or maybe in a future video, but stay tuned. Maybe I'll do it in an Instagram post or something. Okay. Please say hi, Raven. Okay. Hi, Raven. Okay. Samian. Oh, man, I haven't heard from you in a while. Can you say how important it is for people who come to NorCal to ensure they're active in the union? It's because of labor activism that we can potentially strike and get these high wages. That is 100% true. The reason we have these wages is because nurses in Northern California, specifically in the Kaiser system, which is the strongest, has the strongest union, I would say, in all of America. These nurses, 99% of them are willing to go on strike. Whereas when we were in New York, it's gotten better now. But when we were working in New York, I remember at one time we were renegotiating a contract. I think this was like in 2015 or 2016, something like that. Don't quote me on it. But only 89% of the nurses voted to go on strike, which was pretty sad. I actually, it might have been even lower than that, like 87%, 86%. That's extremely low if you really think about it. When 99% of the nurses say they are going to go on strike, the hospital takes that very seriously. And that is the reason why we managed to get one of the highest rates we've ever gotten in our contract for this contract. For the next 4 years, we're going to get a 22.5% increase. That would not have happened had the nurses not unionized collectively to vote for these wages. And the benefits, like the benefits, I'm telling you guys, I always talk about Kaiser because the benefits here are better than probably any hospital I've ever worked in. Actually, definitely better than any hospital I've ever worked in. And most of the nurses that I've spoken to who are travel nurses and end up staying in the Kaiser system know that as well. Okay. All right, let's see. If we keep getting people who don't want to stay in the union, pay union dues, etc., I think we'll end up turning the Bay Area and NorCal right back into the U.S. South style of nursing.
Ooh.
That I agree with
I
that.
hope not.
Yeah, no, but it's true. But
Can't
I
make
think,
me.
But I think if once you're a Kaiser nurse, you know the deal. You know you're gonna go on strike no matter what.
We don't play.
Okay. Hey y'all, love this channel so much. I am a new grad in South Africa in the process of getting licensed in a compact state. Do you guys have any idea what it's like in Seattle? Pay and conditions. Seattle is one of the most expensive cities to live in the US. I have a coworker who used to live in Seattle. He moved to Sacramento. He was working with me. He worked there for about 8 to 9 months, and he was working at the Kaiser Hospital in Seattle. When he moved here, he missed Seattle. He wanted to move back. He lasted maybe 2 months there, maybe 3 months. And next thing I know, he's at my unit again. And I'm like, what are you doing here? And he said that the cost of living is so high in Seattle and the pay is relatively low compared to the cost of living. It made no sense. He said he was broke living in Seattle. It made no sense to him. And now he said he's never going to leave the Sacramento area. So I'm just putting that out there. Okay, you have any other questions here? Let's see.
Tons.
Oh, which platform do you trade cryptocurrency on? I don't really trade. What I do is buy and hold. We buy and hold everything. I buy and hold index funds. I buy and hold stock. If I'm going to buy a stock, I buy and hold cryptocurrencies. What I do is I use Coinbase to buy our cryptocurrencies, and I have cryptocurrencies on Coinbase are held online, right? But I also have a wallet that's separate from Coinbase that I can transfer my cryptocurrencies to, and that's what I use to keep them safe. All right, let's see. Okay, Jason, you should become a financial advisor. You are so passionate about getting out of debt, spreadsheets, and retirement fund. I'm passionate about it because before I became a nurse, I was a broke college student and I was living paycheck to paycheck. And I remember my credit score was 518. And I used to gamble my money away because I had a roommate who used to love playing poker. So every Friday, we would invite our friends over and I would play poker with them. And I would be the one that would always lose my money. I was only making maybe like $200, $300 a week at the time. So $20 for me was a lot of money. And I remember every time I would lose that money, it was like a knife going stabbing me through my chest. And then when I went home one time, I remember we were playing online poker and I was up before my roommate went to his job because he works nights. Before he went to his job, I was up maybe like $1,800. And this was a lot for me. This was like a month's salary. And I remember him telling me before he left work, hey, you're up right now. Stop gambling, okay? Don't gamble anymore. Just save it till when I come back. Maybe we can play together. As soon as he left, I continued to gamble. And within 30 minutes, I lost everything. And that's why I don't gamble my money. And I try to be conservative with my money now. I save as much of it as possible, but I also try to invest in it. You know, there was this one thing that I heard somebody say that rich people always, what they do is they always have a job for every single piece of cash that comes into their bank account. So if you have $1, they always have a job for that dollar that's going to make them more money. And what poor people do is instead of having a job for that dollar, they're looking to see how they're going to spend that dollar and they can't get a return on that dollar. I want to be more like those rich people. I don't want to be like those poor people. Yeah. Okay. All right. What else we got here? We're going to finish soon. Like 5 minutes, guys, 5 minutes. Okay. We have another. Okay. So she's green. I think she's also a paid member. Professor Cutie Pie is a paid member. I believe so. And if you don't know what a paid member is, we have on YouTube, you're allowed to subscribe as a member. And you can pay either $2.99 a month, $4.99 a month. I believe it's $4.99 a month. And you get access to videos before everybody else does. Also, for the paid members, I was going to mention this in our community post that only paid members can see, but I will be giving you access to all of the contracts that I have in the Northern California area, even Southern California area, as well as some discounts for our spreadsheets if you guys want that. So just stay tuned. I'm going to message you and I'm going to let you know about that. But I have a link if you guys want to join as a paid member. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. But let me see if I can address this question while I'm at it. Okay. And usually there's like a ratification bonus that can help cover any wages lost during the strike. There, there's no reason not to. That is true. Yes, and that's another thing that I really love about unions. So from the moment your contract ends to the moment the new contract begins, you get they actually pay you for for those that amount of time that you didn't receive the increase in your rate. So, for example, um, let's say your contract ends in September, right? And you don't get a new contract until I don't know, May of next year. They will actually go back from September to May and they'll pay you the difference in that time to make sure that that the contract is continuous throughout its term, right? Like, and then on to the next one. Okay, so let me go to bit.ly.com. Okay, .com. Okay, you got any other questions, Monica, before we leave?
Um, I like this one, but
Mhm.
I don't know how to answer it. It's
Okay.
a good one. What advice do you have for nursing couples who are joining together to pay each other's student debt?
Okay, let's see if I
Hmm.
can find that. What advice?
Perpetual sky.
Let's see. Perpetual sky.
It's at the bottom a little bit.
Oh man, there's so many questions, guys. Okay,
Where
it's
did
towards
those
the
questions
bottom.
come from? Those aren't YouTube
Oh, here it
questions.
is. This one right here. What advice do you have for to give an
Um,
international? No, that's not it. Let's
it's
see.
for to pay off our student
Oh, here it is. This
debt
one.
as a couple.
Okay, what advice do you have for nursing couples who are joining together to pay off each other's student debt? And by joining together to pay, so what
To
Monica and I do, which is probably it doesn't work for everybody, but we literally all of our accounts are joint checking accounts. Everything. We
yeah.
can see everybody, we can see each other's purchases because the way I view it, I mean, you guys may view it differently, but we're married. Like we came into this together, our finances should be married with each other as well.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't work for
It
everybody. I
doesn't.
know plenty of
Yeah.
people who don't have their, bank
Yeah.
accounts, joined.
Mhm.
Um,
Let me
but
see.
yeah, I think that how can you help? I think you guys need to hype each other up
Yeah. That's
because
true.
well, this also doesn't work for every couple. But Jason and I were competitive. We would compete at who made the most, like yearly, weekly, like
Mhm.
like monthly. We would always like a healthy competition. Like I paid more than you. I made more
Yeah.
than you.
Yeah.
So it works for us, but it doesn't work for every couple because it could be that can turn into a negative thing. But
That's
I
true.
also I think also hyping each other up. Just what would you say?
You
Because
know,
that was a really hard question. I saw that and I was like, huh.
yeah,
Because
okay.
not everybody is the same.
That's true. That's very true. So, but if you don't know where your money is going, it's going to be very hard to stay on track. That's first and foremost.
Yes.
So, in order to do that, at the very least, you guys need to have a joint checking account where your money goes into so that you can pay off your debts. At the very least, you guys can have separate checking accounts for everything else, but have a joint checking account so you can put all of your money in there and it's only dedicated to paying off your debts. And one thing that Monica and I did, like she said, we were really competitive about who was going to make the most money. I remember we would even go down to like, okay, how many hours did you work and how many hours did I work and how much did we make because of the amount based on the number of hours that you work. So what I would do, because she's a per diem
Yeah, because I
employee,
paid more. I get paid
yeah,
more.
because she's a per diem employee, I had to like, okay, I had to say to myself, okay, I'm going to work 12-hour shifts here or a 16-hour shift here. Because if I work a 16-hour shift, then my overall hourly rate for that day is going to be higher than her hourly rate. And that's the way I always used to
Like
view it.
holiday pay.
Mhm.
Also, like I
Yeah.
remember last year when we were calculating how much we made each yearly,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
How much you made and how much I made, and how much did you bring in from our YouTube income,
Yeah. Yeah.
content creation income? We evened out. We
Yeah.
were like, this is the first time we actually made the
Mhm.
same.
Mhm.
And but the year before that, I made, I think it was like 30,000-40,000 more than you. So that was like, oh yeah, that felt good.
Yeah. Yes, because Monica is so happy that she outdid me this past year in 2023. She made like 150,000 and she worked about 20 hours a week.
Hmm.
I worked about 16.8 hours a week. So I made 115,000. But I also, because of all the videos that we put out last year and the spreadsheets that we sold, I made $35,000 from our business. So in total, I made 150,000 from our business and my W-2 job, and she made 150,000 from her W-2 job. So we're always trying to find a way. Okay, how are we going to make more money so that we can pay off more debts or invest more money? And it always helps to be on the same page. Always talk about your finances as a couple. I mean, it doesn't have to be you, and don't always make it a negative thing. Just make
Yeah.
it set goals for
Healthy
yourselves.
competition, because I know there are couples out there who kind of get jealous of each other's, if somebody is more successful than the
Yeah.
other,
Mhm.
in terms of finances, and also like a couple who decides they're gonna lose weight together, and like it can go wrong in so many ways. So yeah, it really depends on the person, on the couple too. So
Yeah,
I
that's
feel like
true.
that was like a harder one to answer,
Yeah,
because we're not like everybody.
that's
We're
true.
abnormal.
Yeah. Oh, this is an interesting question. Real quick. So, do you think Kaiser will allow a couple to work at the same unit? 100%.
Yes,
Yeah.
I I work with a lot of couples.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I personally work with, let's see, um, male and a female that are nursing couple, and they're domestic partners. There was a female and a female. They're married. They were working in the same unit. There's at least four. Yeah, there's two of them that are not married. They're a couple, and there's at least like 5 or 6 couples that are like that in my department. So yeah,
However, you cannot be a A&M
yeah,
and a staff nurse working in the
exactly.
same unit.
And A&M stands for
Mhm.
assistant nurse manager. So like if you're an administration, you cannot have a partner working in that department because there's a
Yeah.
conflict of interest there.
Mhm.
But if you guys are on the same plane, like let's say you're a nurse and a nurse, a staff nurse and a staff nurse, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, I think we're gonna end it there. We're hopefully gonna be able to get this thing up and running next week. Please, guys, if you guys have any stories that you want to talk about
Write down those
anonymously,
tea, guys. I'm curious to
yes,
know.
join us next week. We're gonna try to get this working. And if you guys are interested in moving to this area, the Sacramento area, greater Sacramento area, stay tuned for all of the videos that we're gonna be putting out in the coming weeks, because we're gonna be talking about how this Sacramento area is the toughest nursing market at the moment in probably the US, but definitely in California. So stay tuned for that video. It's coming out on Sunday. And then subsequent to that, we're going to have videos. We're going to be comparing the rental market to the home market out here in the greater Sacramento area. All right. Bye.
Ciao.